Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Simply Colorful FiberCast. Today's date is June 22nd, 2018. My name is Lynn Marquidant, and I'm your host. Welcome. We are in our 5th year of doing this, and for anyone who has started with me in the beginning, come on back. We are going to continue to sew. It's amazing what we accomplish in 60 minutes, and you add that up over 5 years, and things start to pile up around you. And that's where I'm sitting. I'm here in the Simply Colorful studio, and we have a lot to get to today. So why don't we just get started? Meanwhile, grab your own project and work along with me. You just heard that ding. Please send me pictures of what you're working on to lynn@simplycolorful.com, and I will show them here on the program. So if you want to share your work with others, please send it, or you can always post it on the Facebook page. So with that, today we're going to make a couple of different bindings. I'm going to show you an antique quilt, and I want to talk about the marine quilter that Sandra made us aware of. So why don't we kick that off first, and then we'll go into our bindings. Last week, Sandra from Mississippi, I think it was hot there last week. As you might recall, Sandra is always telling us what the weather is in Mississippi, which we like and enjoy. And she sent us a picture of a red, white, and blue block last week. And she told us about the marine quilter. The marine quilter has a Facebook page. His name is Mark Darrell. And he was in the Marines 3 years ago. And he is retired. And he discovered quilting about 3 years ago for an expression of art, for therapy, to get over what he saw and experienced, and he is getting rave reviews. So he's got a YouTube channel. I've not seen the videos yet, but I know that Sandra sent me his information and I wanted to contribute. So what he's asking for in a special sewing project is he's asking for 10.5-inch blocks in patriotic fabric, and they're due by the 4th of July. I have his address that I'll tell you in a minute. I'll give you a minute to get your pen and paper. And what I did was I looked in my stash, and I was all set to make a block for him, and I found this. And I actually found those other blocks over there that you can see. And I thought, this is red, white, and blue, and I will probably never use it. Why not trim it down and send it off to him? So that's the first thing. I'm going to trim it to 10.5. I want to make sure that this stays in the center, right? So let's do 7 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4 on this side. Oh, my ruler's not quite long enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 1/4. Okay. So there's a piece. We can use that as a scrap. I'm measuring 5 1/4 from the center seam so that in the end it will measure 10.5. Okay. So now we've got skinnier. Now I'll just do the same thing. So the reason this project is of interest to me is, number one, and probably first and foremost, Sandra participated. She thought it was a good idea, and I want to support my friend Sandra. And so that's number one. Number two is certainly, especially this time of year, as we have finished Memorial Day and we're heading into Patriots Day, I am increasingly thankful for everyone who keeps us safe. And if I can help a Marine help others, because presumably these are going to be quilts for other people that he's giving away. I guess he gives most of his quilts away. Then I want to be a supporter of that. So there we go. Let's make sure it's 10.5. Get your pencils out. I'm going to tell you where we need to send these. Okay, so it's 10.5. If you choose to make a patriotic block, or maybe you have one in your stash that you just want to carry on, send off to someone else, send it to Mark Darrell, Darrell, at P.O. Box 2045 in Mableton, Georgia. I'll spell it. Mableton, Georgia. And the zip code is 30126. So again, it's Mark Darrell, Darrell. So it's like two names, right? Mark Darrell. P.O. Box 2045, Mableton, Georgia, 30126. And he is the Quilting Marine. And Mark, if you happen to tune in, this is coming your way. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is bindings. So I have two quilts for which I need a binding, and I thought we would talk a little bit just about how you do your bindings, how I do my bindings. One is very straightforward and simple. The other one is going to be scrappy. So first off is the quilt that I have done for Chris Fisher out in Northern California. You may recall, and I think I shared with everyone, this antique quilt came from Santa Rosa. We picked the off-white backing. Hello, people are sending and saying hi. We quilted it with the damask pattern in off-white. And now you'll see I've even cut off the pointed diamonds a little bit. And now what we need to do is make a black binding that I will sew on and put around the edge. So this will be very easy and straightforward. The other binding we're going to create is out of this pile of scraps for the Christmas quilt behind me, but we'll do that after we do take care of this. This is like, what is this like? Bookkeeping and quilting, or it's kind of like maintenance. It's just creating binding is just part of the process. I actually look at this. I'm almost down to my last thread. I love creating bindings because it means the quilt's almost done. Okay, that one is there. Now I pulled out, thank goodness I had some black thread. It's not Aurifil, but it will do. It's cotton. And this is quilting thread that I'll use for the hand sewing. And I pulled out a plain bobbin. So yes, I do have to spend a minute and start up the machine. Oh, there isn't much on this one either. I have to wind a bobbin. And it makes noise. I'm sorry in advance. Oh, and I want to hear what you're all working on. Summer is definitely here. I can feel it. It's humid, and they say we're going to have showers the next 2 days, which is too bad. Ooh, slow her down. I do love this Bernina. Oh, you can't even see that. Here, let me move this over. Can you see that now? It has a separate bobbin winding motor that I really like. While I'm at it, I might as well see if there's any. Oh, let me speed it up a little. Okay. All right, done. There's that. Once I get this threaded, I'm going to see who's out there. I know we have people across the globe, and it's always fun to hear what Carol and Ann and Carol are doing. We have a couple of Carols doing over in the UK, and what Allie and Wendy and Peggy are doing down under. So in the UK, it's about midnight or 1, and in Australia, it's Saturday. So they're having their coffee already. Come on, babies. There we go. Okay. There's that. And this will have a different feel because the thread is Feels like a heavier weight. This will be interesting. Oh, I have a threader on this machine. Whoo, I love that. It's not like my sister's machine that can practically bake a meal for you. She was so funny when she said that one time. Okay, so everything's all threaded. We're ready to sew. I cut my strips in 2.5 inches because then I fold them in half and I iron them once I get them all together. This was just an example that I sent to the customer. So before we start sewing this together though, let me see who's out there. Again, send pictures, send emails to Lynn at simplycolorful.com. And I'm going to use my big computer. Hey, we've got some good folks. It's getting so humid. Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. This is a message from Jean, who is up at the Vermont Quilt Festival, and she tells us that our fellow guild member, see how I associate myself with her, and our friend Karen Switch has won an award at the Vermont Quilt Festival for best use of technology. This is a quilt she made. Look at that. It looks like a photo. It's made out of small pictures that were assembled together and turned into this mosaic of her mother and father 60 plus years ago on their wedding day. And I've seen it up close. It's about 60 inches by 60 inches. And boy, does that look good when you look at it through a picture. Oh, and she got all sorts of ribbons and awards. So if you happen to be up in Essex Junction, take a look for it. It is called 60 Years of Memory by Karen Switch from Ashland. She says, I used over 500 photos from my parents' lives to make a mosaic of them on their wedding day 60 years ago. The mosaic was done on a computer, printed on 2 pieces, and the back has 1,300 of the same photos in full color and 2 by 2. Front photos are 1 by 1. Wow. Quilted on a home sewing machine by Karen Switch. Well, excellent. Speaking of Jean writes just a few minutes ago. She says, can't wait to tune in. I'll be a bit late. Oh my goodness, she's just getting back from the Vermont Quilt Festival. We have to go next year, she says. Wow, what a day you've had. Welcome home. Jean has been all the way up to Burlington and back overnight. Oh, so glad you're home. And have fun on the Cape. Oh, yay! I just heard from June, another customer, and she sent me another quilt. And I'm sorry, I was reading my business here. She wants a navy border, maybe a twisted rope. It's a blue quilt. It's over there. I won't get it yet. I'll get it. Maybe I'll have it next week when it's done. So many quilts come through here that, again, I don't show you here because they're other people's art. But that's a good reminder for me to let you know that the Simply Colorful Machine Quilting Division is open. Please send your quilts in. We're going to be gone the week of July 4th, but then we'll be back. So get those quilts done before your fall Quilt Guild meetings. Oh my goodness. And speaking of KB, check out this picture. Woohoo! There's KB and Bob and Tom, and they are all the way up in, are you in Denali yet? That is beautiful. They flew over yesterday through Minneapolis, and I think they were going ATVing. I think. Oh, that's beautiful. What a great thing. I'm so glad you said that. Okay. Let's see if anyone's out there. Oh, Sue Annie. Hi, Annie. I need to remember to say hi to you. We're becoming regulars, aren't we? It's so nice to see you. Annie says, I didn't get my hexagon top done this week. That's okay. She says, dare I say it's your fault for getting me interested in a Dear Jane quilt? No, I guess not. I could have resisted making a Dear Jane blog, but I got my book yesterday and couldn't help but make one blog. You'll have to send us a picture or tell us which one. Are you starting with the A's and going across, or are you just doing what ones you like? I have to tell you, I started doing just ones that I liked. And I'm sure it's because I'm older now, but I spend more time rearranging those darn blocks and figuring out which ones I've done and which ones I haven't. So now my strategy is to get more planful and go from A, finish that, finish my B's, finish my C's, because I just don't have enough more time to keep figuring out which blocks I've made and which I don't. Like these over here in this pile, these are my F's. So I've put them at least in baggies by letter row. But Annie, I'm so excited for you. That is great. You made a lot of hexi quilts over the years. What was it, 7 and 4 years? Am I remembering that right? It's amazing. I'm glad you're out there. Oh, wonderful. Well, let me get to it. We have a lot to do here. And let's just, we've got our black thread. I'm going to put this down a bit. Bernina keeps their stitch count at 2.4. I'm going to do 2.2, maybe even 2.1. Okay. And I group them together like this all at once, and then I'll cut them apart. And I'm sewing about 5/8 of an inch because I want to cut off the salvage. And I know you all do this all the time. This is just part of quilt making. It's the housekeeping of quilt making. Oh, I'm so excited for my sister and Tommy and TG Bob. We're going to see a part of the world that's so much bigger than any individual. And didn't they look happy? Oh, who's out there? Who's out there indeed? Oh my goodness. Hey, Chris. Hi, my dear friend, right back at you. I miss you. I'm wondering if you're in town and if we can go for ice cream this weekend. And if you're not, I understand. You probably are in a better locale. But I'm glad you've tuned in. Jean is already home from the Vermont Quilt Festival, so we'll have to see what kind of shopping damage she did. You were so funny to say that you were feeling like you weren't able to keep up because you weren't up there with her in the shopping department. We all have our strengths. And no one commented, because I'm sure it was because you were thinking, why is it always about Lynn? But did you notice when Jean said she was up at the Vermont Quilt Festival? I grew up. I went to elementary school within a mile of the Essex Junction Fairgrounds and lived on the other side. So I would ride my bike back when you could ride your bike when you were a kid. down that road past the fairgrounds. Sometimes I would ride my bike behind the fairgrounds. It was all sandy, and I can remember vividly falling on some sand behind that Essex Junction fairground when I was in third grade, maybe. So anywho, it's a small world. And I was having flashbacks and very envious that Jean was up in Essex Junction. So see what I'm doing? I'm just cutting this off. Each one off, and then off. And here we go. So we've taken care of the Quilting Marine. We have now made binding. And oh, I'm going to sew this one other piece that I made before that I've already ironed. Okay. So I think because I have so much junk all around me, like I said, 5 years in, you amass a fair number of partially done quilts, but I'm chipping away. So I think, given I have so much around, I'm not going to do this ironing yet, but know that that's the next step is I have to iron it in half and then wind it up, and then it will be ready. So there is that binding. Ta-da! And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it along with the quilt over here. Chris, did you see the quilt? Remember the antique quilt? It's all quilted. I'm just going to bind it. Okay. So let's put that there. I really am looking forward to actually delivering that quilt back. It's funny, this thing about having other people's quilts in my home. I have this desire to get them back to people. Isn't that funny? It's like, I know I'm not the owner. I'm just looking after them for a little bit. And I really want them back home with their peeps. This is a great tool. We should do a whole show on tools, shouldn't we? Okay. There we go. So next is, see the back of me, our basket quilt that Becca mentioned. Speaking of Becca, I want to send my condolences about your father-in-law. Saw that Becca clash. You have had a string of them, so we're thinking of you. And Becca was the one who suggested making our basket quilt many, many months ago. So we all made a different variety. It wasn't one that we all did together. And this is the one that I did, the one that we did the coloring. And it's a Christmas quilt. And I ended up, after everyone's suggestion, I actually ended up using my tans for in between. And now I thought, when I stood back, that I would use the greens that I made the baskets out of to make scraps that I'm then going to cut into 2.5-inch strips and turn into my binding. And then the backing will be a white, off-white minky. And then this will be the binding. And that will be that. And I think I'm going to keep it. And I'm just going to use it as a Christmas quilt. My own Christmas quilt here at the abode. So this is just going to be, oh, and I should change my thread. See, so I sew them all together, and then I'm going to use my trusty iron. Don't need all these extras. I love using scraps. They can get bulky though, so I'm cutting off any excess scraps on the back here. Oh, and I even have some newsprint paper. So I fell asleep last night to Gamble sewing machine videos. I'm having a little thing. I think I need to calibrate something, but it seems like my computer thinks that my machine head is a little bit off. So even though I see on the screen where the machine head is, and I think it's right there on my XY axis, when I go to print it out or do my sewing, it seems to sew off a little bit. So I've got to figure that out. The reason why that matters is, for example, you can think that you're sewing one row, and then you can think that you're fitting a second row right under it in just the right spot. But because it's not quite aligned, the head with the computer, you can end up over sewing your rows. I mean, it's fine, especially if it's consistent. I'm just ripping off paper. So I hope everyone's had a good week and is looking forward to summer and having some time with fireworks and at the beach. Let me pull this out. Pull my Panasonic Iron. So, I've got that closer to me. And, oh, I was going to change my thread. I'm going to save this for my quilts. Putting the black binding on. Okay, so there and there, I will put under there. Here I have a little bit left on this bobbin. I might as well use it. I'm in need of some Aurifil. Do you believe that? I'm using down my bobbins. Okay, here we are. So, I did iron some of these. Here's the darker green. Mom, you're going to love this color. I love that one. Let's put it right here. Okay, it's kind of a thin. I'm going to do that again. It's only like 1/8 of an inch. There we go. There's that to iron and iron. Let's see, we've got this. Pretty soon I'll start to cut them into 2.5-inch strips. Now, you might think that this will create a lot of bulk in my in the binding, and you might be right. So you know what I might do is I think I might cut it a little bit bigger. So instead of 2.5, I'm going to go 2 5/8. So that then it's a little bit bigger when I fold it in half. And then when I do it again, I have just a little more leeway with all the seams. In fact, I could do 2 3/4. That's what I'm going to do. 2 3/4. Oh, love this iron. I know I say that all the time. Oh, welcome to our new viewers, by the way. I'm so glad you're out there. And we will be doing more Dear Jane. I know several of you, including Annie, are into Dear Jane, and I definitely am ready to make a dent in it. I wanted to do these bindings so I can get these 2 quilts off the table. But isn't that cool? In fact, this one's a little too long to work with. So let's just quickly, I think what I'll do is I'll fold it in half like that. Oh, we just put together a plan, our family did, we have a niece going to BC. And so if anyone wants to join us, Chris or Jean, maybe you'll already be there. We're going to go to the November 10th Clemson, BC football game here in Chestnut Hill because another cousin, another nephew went to Clemson. So it'll be the Tigers versus the Eagles. So there we go. 2 3/4. Okay. And then once it's all done, I'll fold it in half, and then it will be folded in half again. So it'll work. So let's do 2. Okay. This could be used again, but I don't think so. Okay. Okay, so all I'm doing is squaring up the ends so they're ready to sew to other ends. I want this to be completely scrappy. Okay. Now let's do this one. Yes, this will take a time. This will take some time, folks. But that's okay. Good things take time. What else would we be doing? We're keeping each other company. And I hope you are sewing on your end. Or doing whatever. Looking at a magazine, drinking a glass of wine, cooking, RVing at Denali National Forest. Whatever floats your boat. That gives us a little more. I have to tell you, I have a new job. I think I mentioned. Still the same company, but I'm working in a different department. They have me doing a lot more marketing writing. And it's hard, and I'm out of practice. So come Fridays, I'm exhausted. oh, woe is me, right? But I know a lot of you work hard all week, and it is tiring, and it does take extra effort sometimes to get into our art or our hobbies or our fiber, our quilting. And I admire everyone who does exercising. I do not do that like I should, as you know. But you just have to make time for these other things, even though sometimes you're tired and you don't want to. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to double these up. Could be a disaster, or it could work quite well. I'm going to cut a few of these, and I'm going to check and see who's out there. I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. Oh, and I want to say hi to Marquet and to Norma. I received a nice note from Norma, who is, I think, down in Kentucky, right? I should know that for sure. Or Tennessee. And I just love seeing your pictures and seeing the wild horses and your RVing. So there we go, more. And I'm just going to put these in here because we want to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to fight the urge to try and sew them together just yet because I want to sprinkle the variety around the whole quilt, if that makes sense. I'll sprinkle the variety of squares. There's more. I do love green. My mother likes green too. Okay, so there's that. Oh, we might have more here. What did I miss? See, if I put this here, this will make a whole different look. Oh, something just sprung out. 1 second. It's right underneath here. It's my thread cutter. There it is. I can remember Sarah Hargrave. Has anyone ever had this happen? Let's see which way it will go in. Doesn't look like any of the plastic broke. It just looks like it popped out. Knowing me, though, I'll break it trying to put it back in. Okay, I think that's it. No. I think we did it. Yay. Huh. Okay, let's keep cutting. And then I'm going to check for emails. I know we're getting into the summer months when people take vacations. And let's see. And that's good because we all need vacations. I think I have already said that today, haven't I? Check out this one. That's a fun one. This can be so random, right? I think, you know what? So this one, no, this is just going to be too many. I'm not going to do that. There. Well, look at that. That worked just enough. So we got two good ones. There. This one, this is a big one. We'll get a lot of pieces out of this. Iron it. I think I'm going to get myself a Spritz bottle. I've watched Joyce do that. By the way, hi Joyce if you're out there. And Dawn and Kelsey and everyone. Okay. Lots of strings here, right? Okay. It's a good one. Go. 3 more. We're getting there, but it's going to take quite a few, isn't it? Let's see who's out there. Where did this go? Aw, Chris says she needs to see that quilt in person after ice cream. That's a plan. Oh, wow. KB just sent another picture. Whoa, look at that. That's beautiful. Wow, it's 6 or 7 hours earlier for them, so they are out exploring. Oh, beautiful. Let's see. Hey, Dawn is out there. Hi, Dawn. Dawn says, I'm using the attached spreadsheet to keep track of which Dear Jane blocks I've sewn. Maybe you'll find it helpful. Oh, thank you. I'm going to open it up right now. This is Dawn Stewart of the book fame. I've posted a couple of her books on the front page of Simply Colorful. Check them out. She's an independent author, and we should definitely, there are some great ideas if you are running a quilt guild and you're looking for programs. She also has tips for quilting, and they're just fun to read. Dawn says, tonight I'm hand stitching on a quilt, and tomorrow I'm laying out 2 baby quilts. Oh, Dawn, This is great. Okay, so Annie and anyone else out there, here is a spreadsheet that allows you to keep track of which of your Dear Jane blocks you've made, which really is fabulous. And I should have known this. I should have remembered this. It's from janiac.com, www.janiac.com. And it literally has each of these as the row and then the block. Thank you, Dawn. Beautiful. I'm so glad you're out there. Have a great week. She says, oh, the 2 baby quilts for the twins. She's going to base those layers together. Oh, Carol. Hello, Carol. She has a binding question. She says, I'm watching you creating some binding. What is the advantage of creating a straight stitch binding versus a diagonal stitch one? Aha. The advantage of the diagonal stitch is that when you fold it over, you won't have a bulk of 4 seams all together and it won't wear. So the diagonal stitch theoretically wears better. And I'll show you what I mean. If I think I understood the question, you noticed when I made this binding, I just sewed the 2 pieces together straight across. So what happens is when I fold it in half, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of fabric just going up and down right there. And then when I fold it over again, it'll be 12. Is that right? That's amazing. And so you'll actually even see a lump when you look at the binding. And you know, since this is for a customer, I probably should go back and do the diagonal binding. Thank you, Carol. If I did the diagonal binding, which I guess I could do right now, then that would mean I'd have to do some math. And it's late on a Friday, but I'm going to do 1 at least. Okay, so this is the straight across. I'm going to uncut. I'm going to undo that. Now, I'm going to do putting them like that. And then what I'm going to do is sew a diagonal in the square. And Chris, you'll be glad to hear that I'm not even drawing my straight stitch on it. Okay, so here, and I know black is like the worst fabric to be demonstrating this on, but I just did the diagonal stitch. I'm going to cut the excess. Do you believe I knew the answer to this? Okay, so now again, I know you can't see that, but it is sewn on the diagonal, not on the straight. And what happens is then when you fold it in half, you no longer have all 12 of your pieces of fabric lined up. You have the pieces of fabric all in here spread out and further spread out when you fold it over. So there won't be one bump. You've spread out the bulk. Thanks for asking. I'm glad you're out there, Carol. Annie. Oh, Annie again said, sorry, I hit send when I meant to hit attachment. Okay. She says, the second picture is another reason. Happy my first assistant got up on the quilt every time I tried to sew and slapped my hand every time I picked it up to work on it. She is very possessive. Aww. Oh, so I should remember. I think, oh, I love this. Okay, so Annie has started her Dear Jane. I will forward you the spreadsheet that Dawn just sent me. And I think that might be A1, if I'm remembering. I don't have my book right here. That's beautiful. And I bet, are you doing it all by hand? Then look at this. Aw, your assistant. What's your assistant's name? She's beautiful. I so want a dog. She's very possessive. She's adorable. Thank you for sending that, Annie. Aw. Okay, let's see. Aha! And here is Sandra. Oh, this is so well timed. And Sandra says it's hot in Mississippi. Hi, Sandra. She says, I finished trimming today, ready to send to the Quilting Marine. Started on the second SS2 block, finished the background. Have a great week all. Hugs, Sandra in hot Mississippi. Oh, the Splendid Sampler 2 block looks like a donut, right? And you did the back. I watched Alyssa last night or the night before on Penguin and Fish. So I'm glad you did that. Sandra, you may have tuned in late. I gave everyone the address, and I'm going to send this to Mark. So thank you for the tip. And for anyone else who may just be joining, let me give you that address again. How's this for overkill? But we might as well support Mark. It's Mark Darrell. He's a former Marine. 3 years ago, he started quilting. He's making a patriotic quilts to give away, and he is accepting 10.5-inch patriotic blocks between now and July 4th. So if you happen to have one already made that you can trim down or one that you want to make, like Sandra made, which I just love. I love your fabric. Look at that. Ah! So send them over to Mark Darrell, and that is P.O. Box 2045, Mableton, Georgia, 30126. Thank you, Sandra. Stay cool. It looks like it's hot down there. Okay. I am just so glad you're all out there. I think, well, maybe I literally have stuff everywhere. I think I will do a couple of more cuts, and then I am going to call it. Here, this will be interesting. And sew this Christmas fabric onto here. And I love that you all write in, and I know that you're out there even when you're not writing in, so thank you for joining us. If anyone needs a quilt quilted, send it to Simply Colorful. I'd be happy to do it. Remember, I'm out of the studio the week of July 4th, but anytime after that. Oh, and I just ran out of bobbin thread. That might be a sign. Send them my way, especially like if you have an antique quilt top that you've been meaning to finish, or you have another top that's sitting around, send it on in. We'll take care of it and we'll make it into a functional quilt for you. Okay, so in conclusion, the Quilted Marine is going to get a block. We're going to go do diagonal. We're going to redo this a bit and do the diagonal binding. We're going to put it on. This quilt will be gone in a few days. I'll finish this up, and hopefully by next week you'll see that almost done. Maybe not completely. I want to thank you all for joining me. It's summertime. Get out there, enjoy some watermelon, some ice cream with your friends, and just be thankful. Thanks for joining me. I know I'm thankful for it. I'll see you all next week, next Friday night at 8 p.m. Bye.